Hey everybody, Alan Tyler here for another day of my 30-day YouTube challenge. Today I'm going to talk about a book that I just finished reading. The book is called Shantaram by Gregory David Roberts. It's a very big book. It's one of my absolute favorite books. I just finished reading it for the second time. I first read it a couple of years ago, and this book is incredible. It is truly an epic journey. It's a novel, loosely based on the author's life and experience. He was escaped from a 19-year prison sentence in Australia and spent 10 years on the run before eventually being recaptured and serving out the rest of his sentence, at which time he wrote the book and was able to publish it after that. The book itself is, again, a really, really epic tale through his time in India, where he lived in a slum, he opened a medical clinic, he worked for the mafia, he participated in 2 international wars. Just some amazing stuff that happened in his real life and then is relayed in the book through the character, the protagonist in the book. And it's got hope and heartbreak and love and war and hatred and violence and beauty and compassion and really capturing the human spirit and the beauty and the culture and the heart of the city of Bombay, the city of Mumbai in India. And the language that he uses in the book is incredible. He's a master with metaphors. So I wanted to read a couple of the quotes from the book because that's one of the things that really stands out for me. This is definitely not all of the marks that I could have put in this book for tags, for spaces, but I'm not going to read all of them, don't worry. But there's a few that really stood out, so we'll just kind of flip to some of these. So this one, I just really liked the way that he described this. We were lonely, Lisa and I, and at first we talked to one another as lonely people do, in fragments of complaint and corners clipped from conversations that we'd already had with ourselves alone. The cloak of the past is cut from patches of feeling and sewn with rebus threads. Most of the time, the best we can do is wrap it around ourselves for comfort or drag it behind us as we struggle to go on. But everything has its cause and its meaning. Every life, every love, every action and feeling and thought has its reason and significance, its beginning and the part it plays in the end. Sometimes we do see. Sometimes we see the past so clearly and read the legend of its parts with such acuity that every stitch of time reveals its purpose, and a kind of message is enfolded in it. Nothing in any life, no matter how well or poorly lived, is wiser than failure or clearer than sorrow. And in the tiny, precious wisdom that they give to us, even those dread and hated enemies, suffering and failure, have their reason and their right to be. As I reached the 2 wide steps leading down to the blue door, I saw him open it and slip inside the house like a shadow thrown by a swooping bird. Salman and the others, no less than Chuha and the Sapna killers and all the rest of them, were pretending that their little kingdoms made them kings, that their power struggles made them powerful. And they didn't. They couldn't. I saw that then so clearly that it was like understanding a mathematical theorem for the first time. The only kingdom that makes any man a king is the kingdom of his own soul. The only power that has any real meaning is the power to better the world. And only men like Qasim Ali Hussein and Johnny Cigar were such kings and had such power. But the lies we tell ourselves are the ghosts that haunt the empty house of midnight. And although I pushed Anand and the slum from my mind, I felt the breath of that ghosted lie on my face as I walked through the long, thronging causeway on that hot afternoon. I gave the boy back into Parvati's arms and wiped a hand across my face and into my hair. Looking at the people, listening to the breathing, heaving, laughing, struggling music of the slum all around me, I remembered one of Kaderbai's favorite phrases. Every human heartbeat, he'd said many times, is a universe of possibilities. And it seemed to me that I finally understood exactly what he'd meant. He'd been trying to tell me that every human will has the power to transform its fate. I'd always thought that fate was something unchangeable, fixed for every one of us at birth and as constant as the circuit of the stars. But I suddenly realized that life is stranger and more beautiful than that. The truth is that no matter what kind of game you find yourself in, no matter how good or bad the luck, you can change your life completely with a single thought or a single act of love. And this one's actually my favorite quote here. He's describing the woman he loves early on after he's met her. She wore a salwar kameez, the most flattering garment in the world, after the sari, in 2 shades of sea green. The long tunic was a deeper green, and the pants beneath, tight at the ankle, were paler. There was also a long yellow scarf worn backwards, Indian style, with the plumes of color trailing out behind her. Her black hair was pulled back tightly and fastened at the nape of her neck. The hairstyle threw a tension at her large green eyes, the green of lagoons, where shallow water laps at golden sand, and at her black eyebrows and perfect mouth. Her lips were like the soft ridges of dunes in the desert at sunset, like the crests of waves meeting in the frothy rush to shore, like the folded wings of courting birds. The movements of her body as she walked toward me on the broken lane were like storm wind stirring in a stand of young willow trees. So once again, the book is Shantaram by Gregory David Roberts. I really highly recommend this. It's one of my absolute favorites. Those are some of my favorite quotes from the book. And if you have read it, I'd love to talk with you about it. I only know a couple of people that have made it all the way through. It is a big book. It's almost 1,000 pages, but it is absolutely beautiful, and it's totally worth the time to sit down and take your time to read it. And I can't wait to hear from you about it. Thanks.